GLP-1 is probably the most hottest thing nowadays on the internet, and it's generally, with all the information out there, it's generally super difficult to find some useful information about this and to find the right and correct information. Like, there's just so much noise, and you've got one camp of people saying that it's cheating. If you take GLP or medications for weight loss, that instantly is you're trying to find a shortcut. You've got the other side of people saying it's the next best thing out there, that they're swearing by it, they recommend it to everybody. And then in the middle, you've got countless millions and millions of people who have tried everything on the internet. They're still trying to find the next thing, and they're struggling. And they think it's all because of them. That is their physiology, their mindset. Things aren't right, or their body's for some reason stubborn or different to other people that lose weight much easier. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be there to kind of brush up all the noise on the internet about GLP-1s, give you the right information that's non-biased, tell you what you need to know if you are considering it, and what information you need to be coming in armed with if you are going to be using GLP-1s at some point, or recommending it or speaking about it. Now, before I dive in, of course, I do want to make sure, and a disclaimer, this is not professional advice, this is not medical advice. Please directly consult with a medical professional if you are considering the use of GLP-1s or any form of medical intervention, please. So let's get stuck in. Now, before we even dive in directly into GLP-1, it's actually worth considering why is fat loss so difficult for so many people and much easier for other people. Like, so many people think it's just get a few workouts in, get your training in there, and just power through and just get to the finish line, and it's easy. But for a lot of people, weight loss is much more difficult, and it's not just about physiology and having a plan. There's biological things that come to place, there's hormonal things that come to place that for some people makes it much harder. And unfortunately, there's not enough information to talk about the biology when it comes to fat loss and weight loss, especially when it comes to the long term. Like, most people think it's all about discipline, that is all about just knuckling down and being mentally strong to get through the finish line, but it's much bigger than that. Even though there is the element of it, where you do need that weapon in your arsenal to help it become much more favorable, there's a lot more at play. And not many people dive into this, which I wanted to kind of dive into a lot today. But instead, it's actually what people are dealing with is biology, hormones, and everything that's going on the inside that they don't really look at. Because not many people get blood work done, not many people look at what's happening in the inside. They just go out, try plan the internet, try what their best friends have told them, try what people are doing, and just copy and imitate the behaviors of others, which never really works. Like, one plan for one person to another will be entirely different. Even if it's twins, they respond differently. Because, see, when you're in a calorie deficit, when you're trying to lose body fat, your body doesn't want that. It doesn't like losing weight. It wants to maintain where it's at, its homeostasis. It wants to come back and just find the way to bring yourself back down like a bit of a thermostat, and it kind of wants to pull you back towards previous behaviors. And it does that actively and aggressively without you realizing it. Like, hunger goes up, cravings intensify, your biology comes into place, and you'll realize it. Like, when I start to diet, my hair grows slower, my nails grow slower. If I cut myself, I'll grow slower. I also have a lot more food noise, and generally a lot of people also have food noise where the whole day they're thinking about food. They may have it now where the hormones of leptin, ghrelin, and GLP, they generally get influenced quite a lot as they go through the dieting phase, which pretty much is the thing that kind of tells you that you're fed and you're full and you don't crave more food, and the food noise goes away. But generally speaking, when people go through it, is the body does fight back. Like, cravings go up, energy goes down, your body starts adapting differently, your metabolism starts to adapt, and there's an enormous amount of mental bandwidth around food, for more people. Which is why when someone without empathy looks at somebody that's overweight and thinks, hey, why doesn't this person just eat less? It's never that easy. Because they have different hormone profiles, and they have a lot more food noise, inflammation, trauma, and so on around food as well, which is really important to consider. And the big thing we're looking at when it comes to GLPs is food noise, particularly GLP-1, which is the constant thought of always thinking about your next meal, always thinking about food all day, and always thinking about, consuming calories, consuming nutrients, or regardless if you finish a meal, you're thinking about the next meal directly, which is generally the thing that makes sustained compliance to a diet far more difficult. And that's why weight loss is much different for different people, regardless of what the plan they're on. And see, especially when someone falls off the diet, which is generally not because of willpower, I mean, it can be, it's usually biology. Like, their intentions may be clear, but generally their body's fighting back. They start to think about food more, they start to crave a lot more, they intensify in terms of their cravings, and everything starts to kind of work against it. And this is important to know, because when it comes to GLP-1s, particularly GLP-1s, don't directly influence fat loss, but this is the essential context that you need when it comes to going into it. And it's also the reason why GLP-1s have got so much noise in the space, because it is powerful what it does, provided you are in the right context. So now, what is GLP-1? What does it actually do? GLP-1, which is glucagon-like peptide 1, is a hormone that your body produces naturally. GLPs. And every time you eat, your gut releases it, and it helps regulate blood sugar, and it slows down how quickly your body digests food, and it leaves your stomach entirely. Which basically means you're fuller for longer, you can eat less and get away with it, and generally you don't think about food as much. And this is what drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy all do. They basically manipulate GLP-1 levels, so after a meal, when you have a short spike of eating, your body responds completely differently. And it creates like a sustained feeling of satisfaction, fullness, and you think less about that next meal coming into play, which is great. It helps you feel fuller for longer, helps slow down digestion, it helps you reduce your cravings, and you feel just normal. You feel fairly good, to be fair. Which is generally the thing that most people start to combat and find the reason why people find dieting hard is because of food noise and these things, which GLP-1s like Semaglutide, Wegovy, Ozempic, they all do. But it's important to know that GLP-1s do not directly influence fat loss. They don't help you burn more body fat, they just control the food noise, and then what you do past that is what matters. Which is generally what people get a lot of wrong, because they end up kind of having the same behaviors, and especially for the long term, they don't sustain that for a long term. They don't have a plan that comes along with the GLP-1 use. But essentially what it does is makes controlled, sustained dieting much easier, basically, because it helps you deal with the hardest thing, which is food noise. Because let's say you've got a full working day and you're stressed and you're thinking about food, it will help you with that directly. But you still have to be in a calorie deficit, you still have to do resistance training, you still have to eat protein in to get a full magnified outcome. But then past that, we've got GLP-1s, but that's kind of where the conversation falls short. Because you've got other things that attract other pathways, like Tirzepatide, which has recently been FDA approved. It's kind of sold on the same brand of Mounjaro. However, this is a dual agonist. So it does have GLP-1, which is the thing that obviously influences your GLP levels, which is more like the food signaling, the digestion, the cravings, and the food noise. But now it also has another pathway called GIP, which is generally what GIP does. It handles how nutrients are absorbed, and it handles and influences insulin sensitivity, which is basically how your body deals with food, absorbs food and calories, and how we use it, generally speaking. Which, when you come to Tirzepatide, for example, this is where the effects becomes a lot more magnified, and it does directly influence fat loss here. Provided, of course, you're doing the basics, calorie deficit, you're eating a very well-sound diet. This is where the metabolic response starts to become a lot more louder, and you get a lot more of a different benefit compared to Ozempic alone. So it has GLP-1, but it also has now GIP. And in my opinion, this is what needs to be talking more about, to be honest, because nowadays, Ozempic, Wegovy, they kind of just speak about just GLP, just about the food noise. But when it comes to then Tirzepatide, which helps you with that, but it also helps metabolically, that's where the conversation needs to be happening. And that's why a lot of people, they do Ozempic, but they never see a single result. Like, I've had plenty of clients that have come from doctor recommendations of Ozempic, Semaglutide, whatever it is. And yeah, they've lost their cravings, they've reduced food noise, but they're still overeating. And they may not lose weight at all. It may not do anything directly. But then Tirzepatide, which actually influences you on a metabolic level, directly will help you. And this is where results become a lot more apparent. And then you've got the triple agonist, which is Retatrutide. So it still has GLP-1, it has GIP, now it has glucagon too, which is something I'll probably cover in a separate video because it's the most powerful thing out there that I've seen. But it targets all three receptors, and it actually has the most potent benefit now seen in terms of weight loss drugs. And it's probably the craziest thing out there I've seen, in my opinion. But it has to be used correctly, because again, it's a double-edged sword. And a lot of people will end up looking worse, feeling worse because of it, and long term they come back to it. And I've seen it so many times where people will often lose a lot of muscle, and then they lose weight, and when they come off it, they've got the same amount of body fat, they've just now got less muscle and less body weight. But generally, coming back to Retatrutide, what the third component does, so glucagon, is it actually influences energy expenditure, meaning your body actually starts to burn a lot more calories a lot more differently. Your metabolism starts to adapt based on this, so it actually starts to burn more calories for your day, as well as a lot of other benefits as well, which I'll dive into in a separate video, because it's quite a good thing to know and look into if you are considering taking it. But with Retatrutide, the research is still early days. It's still to get FDA approved, hence why it's not got as much conversation around the internet as it normally would, compared to GLPs, which is probably the hottest thing nowadays. And then you've got Tirzepatide, then you've got Retatrutide, which obviously there's 3 different pathways when it comes to Retatrutide as well. But the key principle when you look at these weight loss medications is they're just a tool at the end of the day, and the more powerful doesn't automatically mean better. Like, if someone uses Ozempic well, they can get an extraordinary result. If somebody uses Retatrutide incorrectly, they can get a worse off result because of it. And more never means better. It depends how you respond, the plan going into it, the structure that you're allowed to be living inside of it. And what you can be consistent with for the long term, for now as well as later, which is kind of the important part of the conversation which I want to dive into, because these medications do work. They're guaranteed to work. They'll do their part. It depends if you'll do your own, because the way that a lot of people use it is fundamentally flawed. Like, I've been to dinners with friends of mine and they're thinking of taking Retatrutide, and it's like, yeah, I'll just stop training, I'll just take Reta. And we know what's going to happen is they'll lose weight, they'll lose a lot of muscle mass. So by the end of it, they'll have lower scale weight, a lot less muscle, probably the same amount of body fat, with obviously it'll be less, but it's just not going to benefit them whatsoever. Like, so many people, they just start to take these weight loss drugs and significantly eat into huge calorie deficits, eat away all the muscle and the shape they've ever built, and by the end of it, they're actually worse off. So yeah, they've got a good result on the scale if they use it correctly, but then after that, there's nothing that they actually want to achieve. They're actually kind of like, they're probably better off not taking it. They probably skip out training or half-arse it. They have low protein, minimal movement, and they think, yeah, I've taken this drug now, and that's all I need to be doing. And it can replace all the work I need to put in. Like, and then they start to feel tired, feel worse off, feel a little bit inflamed, feel softer, not have as much of a hardened physique. But you know, if the focus is just attached to the scale weight, they may see its success, but then down the line, they admit it, it's not the thing they should have done. But the thing here is the medication has nothing to do with that. It's the way it's being used is fundamentally flawed, like it's incorrect. And it has everything to do with the strategy going into it rather than the actual medication itself. Because the medication did its bit, but then what you did afterwards is what everything matters. Whereby the people that do generally get good results while taking these compounds, they actually have a strategy that's well armed with it. They strength train, they hit their protein target, they focus on the calories and macronutrients, they sleep well, they recover well, they hydrate well, and they've got everything working well, and this just helps you even boost what you're getting naturally. And they generally treat it as support rather than a medication that replaces everything, rather than a substitute, which is generally not what it's meant to be doing. And for most people, if you're watching this and you're thinking what that looks like, I'll kind of dive into that in a second as well, but the things you do around taking these weight loss medications is everything. It's literally everything. So if you are going to take it, make sure you've got someone you're consulting with, someone you're coaching with, or someone that's kind of walking you through this, and they have something alongside it that simultaneously helps you directly, rather than just taking one or the other, because you will be worse off, guaranteed. So for most people, that's going to be a case of actually still strength training. You still want to be hitting 3 workouts per week. I personally recommend 3. You can do 4, you can do 5, but I think most guys especially overkill it. Like, one of my best things that I always look at is one of my friends, she used to compete in professional bodybuilding. She trained 4 days a week. And she wants to go to the elite levels. So why are guys training 5 days a week if they don't want to get anywhere close to that? Is what you do with the days you've got rather than how many days you can commit and put in. So still be strength training, not just cardio to burn a lot of calories, because you're pretty much going to have a lot of things that will be done directly for you, which will help, by the way. Like, cardio does help to have, but you can almost want to make sure you bias strength training more than anything to make sure you build muscle, you retain shape, and you still got an element, obviously still getting stronger as well, so the look reflects it. Second thing, you want to make sure you're not in a huge calorie deficit. If you go into a huge calorie deficit, the biggest thing that you want to look at is your body will lose what's easiest, which for 90% of the time is going to be muscle, right? Because it's the most metabolically taxing, it's easiest to lose. And your body's like, hey, I'm not really needing this stuff because one, I'm not using it because I'm not training the way I used to, and it's easier and it burns a lot of calories, let's get rid of it. So it actually taps a lot into muscle as well, especially the further into a deficit you go. Past that, then protein, which is probably the most anabolic macronutrient you can say. I like to kind of call it that. If anything, if you are taking it, I'd probably dose a little bit higher. 2 grams per kilo of body weight is good. Probably go like 2.5 to give yourself the extra benefits. And obviously if your digestion takes a hit, then please bring it down, because obviously you want to look at that, because digestion will be a bit offset when it comes to looking at taking these GLP medications, because it does directly influence it. Past that, hydration, a lot of people start to eat less, they start to drink less water, which will drastically affect their recovery, their energy, their mood, their body composition, training performance, everything. So generally, if you're looking at that to be a case of like, I want to make sure everyone gets at least a litre per 20 kilos of body weight. So if you're 60 kilograms, 3 litres a day. If you're 80 kilograms, get 4, so on and so forth as well. And then past that, actually having different form of measurements rather than just scale weight. So many guys just look at scale weight, and they're like, their success is determined by how much weight they lose in the scale, which is entirely different when it comes to transformation of body composition, right? You want to make sure you're taking progress pictures, measurements, scale weight. If you want to take a DEXA scan, by all means go for it. You don't need to be fair, because body fat percentages aren't really helpful. Like, everybody's going to distribute body fat in different ways. So someone that's 15% body fat compared to somebody else that is, we're looking entirely different, the same height, same body weight, because of where the story, like I store most of my legs. So my abs stay a little bit leaner and tend to be a lot more visible. So if I was going to take it, it wouldn't make a difference for me. But like, you need to look at the actual other metrics when it comes to tracking how successful this is too, which is going to be extremely important to make sure you get the best use of it. And generally, if you do these 5 things and you take Ozempic, you take Tirzepatide, you take Retatrutide, it can be quite powerful, by the way. Like, the evidence is there, and even though Retatrutide hasn't got enough evidence compared to like from the medical studies, from people that have taken it, it's quite crazy what it's done as well. But to bring it all together, GLP-1 medications, are they the hype? Are they worth it? Personally, it's not cheating at all because it doesn't directly influence your level of result. It depends on what you do with it. And if you are trying to find a cheat code, trust me, if there was, I'd give it to you all today. I'll speak about it in YouTube videos, speak about it on Instagram, everywhere. But they're not the cheat code, they're not cheating. They are there to help you with the thing that most people struggle with, which is the biology and the hormones when it comes to weight loss. And it can be extremely helpful as well. There is obviously the negatives that come through it as well, like nausea, fast weight loss, which obviously isn't always good, but we're obviously not going to dive into that, but I kind of want to give my true, real thoughts on this too. But used intelligently, with proper programming, proper nutritional guidance, it can be quite beneficial. And along with realistic expectations, because they aren't a cheat code. They're there to help you, not to replace everything you're doing. And personally, I've seen some of the craziest transformations out there from this, from people that have done it well. Not just, train a few times a week, not just do X, Y, and Z with your nutrition, not just copy what they're supposed to do from generic industry advice, but have a clear, tailored plan that goes through it. So if you are considering it, I'd recommend you work with a professional. You consult with a professional and you make sure you've got someone to help you through what you're doing outside of the GLPs, as well as use it to help you get a further exaggerated result too. Because, well, if you go in with high expectations, think it's going to fix everything, you're going to be very disappointed. But if you go with it with the right expectations, the right inputs, to doing all the right things alongside it, it can be quite a game changer. Just to wrap it up, the drug isn't the problem, it's what people do with it. It's not even the strategy, it's the variable that comes into play that influences the most hardest thing that people have when it comes to long-term weight loss, which is their biology and hormones and how the body responds backwards. And that's the game at play. So if you find this useful, drop any questions in the comment section below. I'll get into them when I can. Hope you find it useful and see you in the next video.